Hey guys, Kyle the Otaku here, and I just got back from my very first horror convention. My experiences with conventions are very limited. Not only can I count every convention I've been to on one hand, one finger. There was a local comic book convention here in town, but the guy who used to independently run it moved out, and the new guy stepped in to try and keep it alive, but he lasted about 1 year and then just stopped. It's been almost 7 years since my last convention, and I have been itching to go to one for a while now. Enter Sinister Creature Con, Sacramento's very own horror-exclusive convention. We have a little bit of bad blood. Let me explain. We tried to go to Sinister Creature Con in 2017, I think it was, and they canceled the event. We had pre-bought our tickets, we had everything ready to go and figured out, and they just canceled. And didn't have a refund policy, we ordered online, so that's $80 down the drain. That's right, we paid for VIP. 2018 and 2019 were a no-go, but we had hope for 2020. Guess what happened in 2020? But this year we decided to give it another go, and it might be my favorite convention experience of all time. The night before, I set an alarm to wake up at 7 a.m., so I had a little extra time to get everything ready before I had to make my way to Armand's. Subscribers might remember my friend from our Freddy Krueger unboxings. What alarm sound did I pick, I hear you not ask, because it's a stupid fucking thing to ask? Seemed appropriate, don't you think? Hey guys, Kyle the Otaku here, and please excuse the low lighting. It is 7 o'clock in the morning, and my zombie blinds catch a lot of light. It is currently 7 o'clock in the morning. I have about an hour and a half to get what I need to get done to get done. I have some coffee, quick breakfast, and then we are officially off to Sinister Creature Con, and I am super excited. This is my first horror convention. I cannot wait to see what we got. I saved up a whole bunch of money to enjoy myself, to splurge, if you will. And, yeah. Let's get going. I left around 8:30 and made it to Armand's at around 9:15ish after stopping to get a Dutch Brothers coffee, vanilla latte. Yes, I am white as fuck. Then we hit the road. It was about a 2-hour drive to get to the California capital. Thankfully, I brought my CD case with only the most quality of albums like Creed's Greatest Hits and Freddy vs. Jason. Road to Sinister Creature Con, we got Creed blaring on the radio, we are rocking.
Yeah.
This is going to be good. We've waited so long to hit a horror convention.
Yeah, months, years.
Oh yeah. They canceled on us last time. We missed an opportunity to meet Tony Todd. Rest in peace, brother. But man, first horror convention, came in stacked with money. We are ready to rock. What if you did? What if you lied? What if I avenge? What if I for an eye? Bro, we need some tunes. And since we're going to a horror convention, there's only one proper choice. We made it to California's SAC with about half an hour to spare, so we decided to make a little pit stop to a fun store called The Cave. The Cave is pretty much a pop culture anything store. Toys, comics, movies, music, games, every form of retro media you could think of. Quick pit stop at The Cave real quick. Dude, they got Laserdisc in here. Yo, freaking Trendmasters Mothra in box. It's crazy. We got some games, some consoles in box, old school. Mask from Splatterhouse back there. Hellboy Essentials collection up there. It wasn't long before I found the video section and my addiction started to flare. As you can tell by the fact that I completely forgot about the vlog and gave the horror aisle my complete attention. Let's see what we got here. Oh, we got House of the Dead in here. House of the Dead, we're looking at $4.99. Okay. Oh, the Beast of Yucca Flats.
$5.
Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror. $1.99. Get out of here.
You're gonna get it?
Heck yeah, I'm gonna get it. Surely they have more than just this one section, right?
I don't know.
Haven't even made it to the con yet, and already I started throwing bills. I left the cave about $5 lighter with House of the Dead 1 and 2 and Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror. By the time we left, the con would have opened the gates to the Promised Land by now, so we drove straight there. At opening time, and I'm sure all the seasoned con attendees are probably going,
"You don't want to be like this. This is awful in every way."
I know we should have gone straight there, but we figured we had time, and Herman told me about the cave about a year ago, I think, and I wanted to see what that was about. Don't worry, we paid for my impatience. The parking lot at the center was completely packed. Not an empty space in the lot. We, and many other cars, were circling spaces like a shiver of sharks surrounding a school of panicking fish. We gave up and followed one of the other cars to another parking lot, which was behind, and I'm not joking when I say this, a Sunday school that was right across the street from the horror convention. I feel like there's an irony joke somewhere in there, but we were too excited to finally find parking. We didn't even notice it was a Sunday school until after we left the convention. And we are here. Across the street, but we're here. We almost didn't find a fucking spot.
Yeah,
it's
that
crazy.
was a challenge. We should have gone here.
We should have gotten here earlier. I am
ago.
I am sorry I dragged you to the cave. I am very sorry.
Well, it was my idea, but...
Yeah. Well, initially we were going to go there after the convention, but we don't know how long they were going to stay open. Don't you laugh as a hearse goes by. There's a lot of hearses out today.
Oh, yeah.
There's like 5 hearses parked out front of the convention right now.
Hey, these hearses, where'd you get them? Funny story. This funeral home that was going out of business. You know damn well I stole it.
Point being, we made it. We finally freaking made it to Sinister Creature Con after a cancellation, a pandemic, a financial nightmare. We finally made it to our first legit horror convention. We stopped for lunch almost immediately. A lot of years to come here. And we could spare a couple minutes for lunch first, you know?
Yeah, it's past 12.
Yeah. There were a couple options. Literally, there were only 2 trucks. One was your standard grease trap truck, and the other specialized in cheesesteaks and tendies. Though the first truck had way more options, if horror was my number 1 addiction, cheesesteaks is my second weakness. Cheesesteak. Now, I've had my fair share of cheesesteaks, but there's only one place that I see as the number 1 spot, no competition, and that's the cheesesteak shop. I've only ever ordered 2 sandwiches, either the King of Philly, which is 50% more everything, or the Motown, which has sauteed mushrooms. The King runs about $14 and the Motown runs around $10. The steak from this truck was $20 even. I had my doubts immediately because food trucks, in my experience, fumble the ball sometimes with American food. Yeah, this cheesesteak cost $20. This better be something, you know? hoagie roll, meat, seasoned, cheese.
Oh yes, spicy.
It's a bit special.
Okay. Okay. Well, the seasoning on the beef is spicy. Has a nice heat to it that's real good. Almost like Spanish spices almost. Not common on cheesesteak, but that is good. Okay.
Whatever they put on these fries is tasty.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing they put on the meat. Okay. Oh my fucking god, it was delicious. Not 100% sure it was worth the full Jackson now that I think about it. Cheesesteak Shop is still my all-time favorite steak, but this truck just became my number 2. I think their onions and peppers were pickled before being tossed on the grill, and they had what they claimed to be mayo, but it tasted and had gooey consistency like queso. I don't know what y'all did, but god damn it, it was good. With our bellies stuffed and my sinuses officially cleared from that spicy Philly. Here we go. We made it inside, we scanned our passes, and the first thing we saw was Linda Blair's booth. The second we spotted it, and before I had any chance to say, "Oh, look," Herman already beelined it for the line. Little did we know that this one singular line would suck up most of our day. Oh, it was brutal. So, to put it into perspective, here's a quick map I drew up. Here's the guests in the first entry room past the lobby, the corridor that wraps the courtyard, bathrooms, everything. Now, the line to meet Linda Blair looks like this. Roughly 60 to 70 people in length. Herman was so excited to get started, he inadvertently picked the longest line in the hall at that moment. So, waiting in line with nothing to do, I do what my ADD-riddled ass always does when I'm in line. I people watch. I noticed that even though this was a horror convention, the cosplay was very open-minded. You had your usual Jason Voorheeses and Michael Myerses, a couple clowns, but I also saw a Cloud Strife, a couple Batmen and Robins, a Deadpool, everyone dressed as whoever they wanted to dress as. It was also in line where we met a con expert, a guy who's traveled all over the United States, going to con after con, meeting as many celebrities as possible. A man by the name of Big Joe. Big Joe lives and breathes conventions. He bought VIP, had an hour head start on us, and already got everyone's autograph except David Howard Thornton's and Linda Blair's. He was so positive about everything, even saying, "What's up, boss?" to all the security and staff that walked by. Not gonna lie, talking to him made the wait a little less painful. It's also at this point I stopped vlogging because I read the rules and regulations weeks in advance, and they had a bunch of rules on filming, and it's my first time there, and I don't want to ruin it by getting into trouble filming something I'm not supposed to, you feel me? But speaking of phones, funny story, I was looking at my phone in line. We've been there about half an hour at that point, maybe. That's what it fucking felt like. And while my head was down, I heard Herman say, "Oh my gosh," and Big Joe saying, "Hey, Miss Harris." And I look up right when Danielle Harris walked right by us. My vision traveling like a foot behind her, and I kind of missed her. She was next in line for the Q&A hall, so she had to walk right by us in order to get to it. So about another 15 minutes go by, we're by the bathrooms at this point, and the line hasn't moved in a hot minute. This one guy went to the front to see what's going on, and Linda Blair was gone. Apparently she went on break, and security had no idea where the fuck she ran off to. A lot of people were like, "What, man? I've been waiting here so long," but I thought it was kind of hysterical. She just got up, and walked away. Herman said I didn't have to stay there with him if I didn't want to. I wasn't going to get Linda's autograph, mind you. I was just there to keep him company while he waited because it was a long fucking line. I could only afford one autograph and I already had someone in mind. So I took the opportunity to run some reconnaissance in the vendor hall. Most of it was homemade stuff, which there was a lot of quality. There was a guy selling custom denim cuts, one selling black candles, horror knit plushes, at-home authors selling their books and wares. But then...
Do you smell it? That smell. The kind of smelly smell. The smelly smell that smells. Smelly.
Horror movies.
Why?
Horror movies! I found fucking Nirvana. An oasis of trashy cult garbage wrapped in a beautiful 4K high-definition bow. The prices were pretty steep, but the booth made up for it in rare finds. I already scouted a potential purchase. The Severin Killer Crocodile double feature Blu-ray. It took all my power, but I left it be. For now. There was a booth selling vintage posters, one selling horror props, including an old NECA Freddy vs. Jason hockey mask. Beautiful, a thing of beauty. There was a horror-themed cookie stand selling cookies shaped like horror Funko Pops, a booth selling official Sinister Creature Con merchandise, and one of my favorites, a booth just selling vintage horror in general. Assorted VHS tapes wrapped in plastic so you know them bitches work. Old posters including international theatrical marquee posters, horror comic books in single issue, and complete series bundles. That guy had pretty much everything. But after scanning the area, the old UAV ran out of fuel and I headed back to Linda Blair's line. Now I wanted to save this for after I told y'all about what was there for consistency, but when I was checking out the high-end physical media booth and I spotted Killer Crocodile, someone tried to sneak one of the man's movies. Just out in the open, just reached in, plucked off, and tried to run off with it. Next thing I know, I see a case land in front of me, having been smacked out of his hands. I look up and see the owner of the booth trying to grab the dude's collar, yelling, "You're gonna try and steal from me, bitch!" He doesn't manage to get a good grip on the guy because of the tables for his booth, and the guy bolts for the door. There's the owner standing there, waving his fist, yelling, "Try and steal from me again, I'll break your fucking arms!" The staff member that was near us was so taken off guard by the sudden eruption of violence that I heard him go, "Oh, security, right, security!" Pretty sure they caught the guy and tossed his ass out, I'm not entirely sure. He did succeed in scaring the shit out of everyone else at his booth. You know no one else tried pulling some shit. He was a big dude too, bald goatee, denim cut with tatted up arms, and this dumb motherfucker thought he was the guy to steal from. Nothing about this man said easy mark. So I'm telling Herman the story. We're at the toilets at this point, and Michael Hargrove is walking by to use the bathroom. There's so much chaos with the line being in front of the bathrooms, Linda still not found, that he almost walked into the women's bathroom by mistake because there's nothing but a bunch of guys standing around in front of it. Someone stopped him and yelled out, No, the other one." He played off his mistake like, "Well, what if I want to go in this one, damn it?" He had the whole line dying. He's a funny-ass guy. I decided to go off again to wait in my own line to get my autograph at this point, so I leave, and while I'm passing down the hallway, passing this huge fucking line of die-hard fans who refuse to leave just because Linda is missing, who do you think I see? Linda Blair. Almost sprinting down the hall, going, sorry, and running straight into the bathroom. Frankly, I think the fans were just thankful she didn't get lost somewhere. Anyway, so I go and get into my line for the one person I wanted to get an autograph from, mainly because I couldn't afford anyone else. Subscribers already know because I posted about it. I wanted to get Danielle Harris to sign my coveted Halloween 30th anniversary commemorative set. I stood in line for like maybe 15-20 minutes. It didn't take too long to meet Danielle, but evidently Linda Blair was speed running now because Herman got through there in record time and was already in line to meet Jeff Daniel Phillips. I actually saw the whole transaction. It was kind of funny. Those who don't know, Jeff played Herman Monster in Rob Zombie's The Munsters. So when Jeff asked for his name and he said Herman, he was like, bullshit. He was having him sign a Munsters poster too. He had to show him his ID and he had a hell of a laugh about it. So I got up there, I paid, it was like $80 for the autograph. Would have been another $20 for a selfie, but in the back of my mind I hear a little voice, that little fucking devil on my shoulder, saying, sure, you could get a selfie with the second biggest name in the Halloween franchise. But that's one less potential movie you could get from that Blu-ray stand. I am fucking weak-willed, okay? I'm in the 900s when it comes to my collection. 1,000 is so tantalizingly close. So I got up there, we said hello, I told her I could only afford one autograph. How could it not be Jamie Lloyd, you know? I hand her my set, and she's like, damn, I don't get to sign a lot of these. I don't care if on the off chance it was said to make me feel good about my collection. It worked, I did, and I'm not complaining about it. She asked where I wanted her to sign, and I said, I'm a guy who thinks funny first, practical second. And I thought it would be funny if you signed right across Michael's forehead. Sort of a ha-ha, I win kind of thing. This is the first autograph I ever got. Not like in person, I mean in my collection, I have 0 autographs. Now some may say, well, you can't see it unless you open it, and you're right, but that's kind of the point. This is more for me than anyone else. Now every time I open the set, there's Danielle's signature, and it'll remind me of my first horror event, and the first signature I ever asked for. I go and search for Herman and wound up finding him in the back of Danielle's line, funnily enough, and I show him the signature. He said he was going to get a couple more autographs before looking around the vendor hall, so once again, off I went. But this time, with my wallet thoroughly unlocked. I think you know where I went. I spent maybe 13 minutes combing this guy's offerings, and man, was there. A whole bunch of Scream Factory, Vinegar Syndrome, Arrow Video, Severin. All the greats were there in person within my grasp. Now, most of the movies were between $20 and $39 each. I looked and looked, creating quite a stack of treasures for myself. I went around the table for a better look, found another table with more movies, but homie stopped me. He stopped me in the middle of my search and said, let me break it down for you, bro. This table here, this here, is the rare shit. The rarest of the rare. And box sets of all kinds. Everything at this table will run you $40 to $50. And I stared longingly at the gems before me. I looked at him and said, you about to make me make some bad fucking decisions. I tried to stay strong, fam. I walked away, turned my back to the table, a single tear racing down my cheek. It was hard because I saw a Hammer Films box set that damn near killed me to leave behind. But I already had a stack that was pushing damn near $200, and Lord knows I'm not putting any of them back. Overall, the stack equaled out to about $160. Many of them I had on my wish list, others I didn't know I wanted. But I'll get to the full haul at the end of the video. I put my newly purchased babies into my backpack and went off to find Herman again. This time I found him at Doug Bradley's table. While I was taking my wallet to the back of a barn to get shot, he already got autographs from Miko Hughes, Camille Keaton, and Devon Sawa. From here forward, I followed Herman around and helped with selfies and whatnot. Also lets me see the celebrities I couldn't afford to interact with in person. Doug Bradley looked like he was just kind of existing. He seemed tired most of the time, but he was powering through for the fans. He looked like he was in desperate need of coffee. Next was Jamie Kennedy. Herman got 2 signatures from him. One was a Malibu's Most Wanted poster for his sister, and the other was a picture of Randy and his coveted rules. Now you want to talk chill? Jamie Kennedy was the most chill person in the whole convention. He was vibing. When it was time for the selfie, Herman passed me the phone and Jimmy said, No. Give me that phone. You paid for a selfie. You're gonna get a selfie. And took the picture himself. That was cool. Next was Emily Perkins, who he got an It poster signed. After that was Brett Wagner, the lost Leatherface himself. He was a big guy, holy crap. He signed the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre Collector's Edition that comes in a fold-out chainsaw. We walked around for a bit and took a look at the vintage booth. My eyes immediately jumped to the VHS tapes. He had some Universal monsters and 80s slashers that never really got to make it big as a franchise, but what caught my eyes was a copy of The Town That Dreaded Sundown. That was a classic made for VHS, just like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but the price was too rich for my blood, so I had to let it go. What I couldn't let go was something that Herman discovered for me. Apparently, Return of the Living Dead had a comic run, a very short-lived comic run. Again, too rich for my blood, but Herman did me a solid and paid for it. I owe him $40, but I'm not gonna let this pass me up. We ended the day with one last meet and greet. Michael Hargrove, the reboot Candyman himself, and let me tell you, you will never meet a nicer guy in your life. He was funny, he was patient, and since it was late in the day and the crowd started to thin out because the con was about maybe 2 hours from closure, he let us ask questions, if anything, because it was something to do. But the coolest thing was that when it was time for Herman's selfie and he passed me the phone, he looked at me, looked at him, and said, "You both want to be in it?" He had an assistant take the phone, he called me over there, and we took the selfie together. He loopholed the selfie rule and let me in there too. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to David Howard Thornton. There was like 2 hours left in the convention and his line was literally heading out the door. And staff had to cut it off and we were just too late to get in before they did. Next time, clown. Next time. Completely bushed from walking around and getting bombarded by stardust, we decided to call it a day. At that point, we weren't going to get home till way late at night, so we bid Sinister Creature Con farewell. For now. Home sweet home. But before we get home, there's one thing I need to do first. Take the price tags off of everything in this bag. The less my family knows what I spent, the better. It was an incredible experience that hopefully we get to do again. It put things into perspective for me because I am very cripplingly introverted sometimes, and every time I think about going to one of these conventions and actually meeting legit celebrities, I always think you will 100% lock up. You will make everything awkward and you will make an ass out of yourself. But after that day, it's no different than talking to any old person. They've done great things, sure, but at the end of it all, they were human, like me. No fear, no awkwardness, no lockups. Just us meeting some really cool people. Now, I would like to end the video with the haul that I got this year. The beginning of what I hope is an annual thing. Now, I already got the cave out of the way. We got House of the Dead 1, House of the Dead 2, Uva Bowl, not really great movies, but when you're a collector, sometimes you gotta collect shit. Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror. I've actually seen this before, but it's been so long that I don't remember it. I saw it on Chiller, for those of you who can remember Chiller, way back before even middle school. And I already brought up the Return of the Living Dead comic series, but I figure let's go issue by issue. I'm probably going to do a review of this whole stack. So here we have the first issue, which kind of pays tribute to the original film's poster. We have the tombstone, a couple of zombies. You know, this looks pretty cool. It says "We're Back," so it's like maybe a direct sequel, possibly. I haven't read any of these yet. I just haven't. I've been working on this video the whole time. Then we have issue number 2, which shows a zombie about to devour the brains of an 80s punker, which gives me a lot of hope because punk culture was like a major factor in Return of the Living Dead. To quote the film character Suicide, I am specifying for YouTube, "This isn't a costume, this is a way of life." Next we have issue 3, which features, I'm pretty sure, the Tar Man. I can get this, yes, okay. Fairly certain this is the Tar Man. And then we have issue 4, which I think pays a little bit of tribute to Trash, kind of, because this is a very punkish girl with a hand in a very precarious position. I don't think that's brains you're reaching for there, bud. Super excited to read these. Again, probably going to do a review on them. Now for the moment we've all been waiting for. What the hell did I get that was worth $160? Now let's get the first one out of the way. Yes, I did in fact grab Killer Crocodile, which also features Killer Crocodile 2. I'm not a big fan of this box. I'm not gonna lie. Not a big fan of it. I got it for the movies themselves. I'm not a fan of this, mainly because the spines. Let me see if I can get that on there. The spines don't say Killer Crocodile 1 and 2. One side says Killer Crocodile, and the other side says Killer Crocodile 2. So, for display purposes, if you put this on a shelf, no one would know that you technically do have both, because the spines are interchangeable. Not a fan of that. Real happy I have this. Up next from Arrow Video, the 4K Collector's Edition release of Friday the 13th, 2009. This has everything in it. It has the poster, the postcard, it has the booklet, it has everything. This is a unmolested copy of the Arrow 4K for Friday the 13th, 2009. Up next is one that I've had on my radar since Cinemassacre's Monster Madness, Camp Colt. We have Night of the Demon. Yes, the Bigfoot movie. The super messed up, very, very graphic Bigfoot horror film, Night of the Demon. I have had this in my Amazon wish list for the longest time. This is also by Severin, by the way. And one thing I can commend Severin for is very, very sturdy slipcovers. This thing, it is solid as, well, not as a rock, but it's way more solid than usual slipcovers that you see for other movies, and they slide in like a dream because it uses like a rail system inside. Next up is a couple more Severin Blu-rays. These, I saw the spines, and I immediately grabbed them, because when am I ever going to see these again? First up, we have a rarity, 30,000 units only for this release. Zombie 3. I'm really excited to have this. I didn't know it was this rare, to be honest. Oh, and it also includes a soundtrack CD? Ooh, I just read the rest of that. I was too excited over the 3,000 units only, but apparently this one's a rare one. 3,000 units. And I already have Zombie, Lucio Fulci's Zombie, which, for those are confused, you're like, okay, you have Zombie and Zombie 3, what about Zombie 2? Zombie is Zombie 2. Little localization fuckery. Basically, George Romero's Dawn of the Dead was released in Italy under Zombie, and Lucio Fulci's Zombie, released as Zombie 2, was an unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead, and when they released it to the US, they couldn't call it Dawn of the Dead, because that's a fucking minefield, so they just called it Zombie, a tradition they did not follow for the other movies. Because they released Zombie 2 under Zombie in the US, then they got the next movie, and instead of calling it Zombie 2, they called it Zombie 3. They kept the original title, and guess what? Moving on to the next purchase, they did the same thing for Zombie 4. But guess what? Zombie 4 technically doesn't exist. This movie in Italy is just called After Death. This technically isn't connected to Zombie at all. And then there's Zombie 5, but we don't have Zombie 5, but that's next on the list, I guess. Add that to the wish list. Now, this next one I'm extra excited for. This is the last one. This one I was very excited for because it's a foreign film that I saw the English version of, and the English version might be the worst localization of a film I have ever seen. That movie being Varan the Unbelievable. If you are going to watch Varan the Unbelievable, watch the Japanese version. You can put up with subtitles. Don't watch the English version. It is ass. It is the worst Americanized version of a film I have ever seen in my life. And I have seen some horrendous American edits of foreign films. Watch the Japanese version. It is way better in every single feasible way, especially in a storytelling way. And yeah, that was my entire haul. This stack right here is worth $160. Some might look at that and have a fucking heart attack. Personally, I think it's worth every fucking penny. So that was my first horror convention experience. Fucking loved it. Can't wait to do it again. Hopefully I get to do it again. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I have another video that I was in the middle of scripting before I got to go to the convention. I'm going to finish up that script, and then I'm going to work on that one. This one's going to come out first. I'm going to work on editing this one tomorrow. Then I'm going to get back to work on the video I was already working on. So, and then I have a couple more videos that I have lined up Hopefully I'm back. I'm not entirely sure. Hopefully, if I don't procrastinate like a lazy bastard. Yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Laters.